boyfriend forgave my infidelity 6 months ago, but for some reason, now that he caught me with the same person again, he no longer wants to forgive me. He's being very unfair. Main story. I have always believed that relationships are like sacred contracts, but unfortunately, my boyfriend Liam seems to think he can just tear up the fine print whenever his emotions get a little ruffled. For 3 years, I have been the emotional architect of our lives, the one who carries the heavy burden of feeling too much, while he simply exists in the comfort I provide. 6 months ago, we hit what most people, the simple-minded ones, would call a crisis, when I was discovered seeking a deeper, more spiritual connection with Julian, a man who actually understands the complexities of my soul. Liam found out, and after I did the incredibly brave work of allowing him to express his narrow-minded anger, he made a choice that I considered a binding, eternal vow. He looked me in the eyes and promised that he would forgive me, that we were us forever, and that our love was strong enough to survive anything. I took that promise to heart, believing I was finally with a man whose word was his bond. A man who understood that a soul like mine cannot be caged by conventional, boring rules. The last 6 months haven't been easy for me though. Liam likes to pretend he was the only one suffering just because he was the one wronged. I had to endure his long silences, his pathetic puppy dog eyes, and the constant suffocating cloud of his healing process that I was forced to navigate every single day. I was a saint of patience, staying by his side while he processed his insecurities, never once complaining about how his lack of immediate joy was dampening my own vibration. I felt like I was performing a daily act of charity, staying in a home that felt more like a courtroom than a sanctuary. All to prove that I was committed to the US he claimed to want. If anything, my willingness to stay despite his depressing mood should have earned me a medal, or at least a significant amount of credit in the bank of his devotion. I truly believed that by forgiving me once, he had accepted the totality of who I am, including my occasional need for external validation that he simply fails to provide. Naturally, when Julian reached out again a few weeks ago, I saw it as a test of the strength we had allegedly built. A way to see if Liam's infinite forgiveness was actually as robust as he claimed. I didn't hide it with the typical low-class sneakiness of a common cheater. I left hints, almost like breadcrumbs, because I value the kind of radical honesty that most people are too cowardly to handle. If Liam was truly over the past, my continued friendship with Julian shouldn't have been an issue, yet I could see his suspicion growing like a weed in a garden I was trying so hard to tend. I felt it was my duty to show Liam that his forgiveness wasn't just a one-time event, but a lifestyle choice he had committed to when he decided to stay with a woman of my caliber. It's almost as if he expected me to change who I am fundamentally, which is the height of arrogance and a direct violation of the unconditional part of unconditional love. The situation came to a head yesterday when I invited Julian over to our apartment while Liam was supposedly at work. Mostly because I needed a comfortable space to discuss my emotional exhaustion regarding the relationship. I wasn't even doing anything that a rational person would consider wrong. We were simply exploring the physical manifestation of our undeniable chemistry on the sofa. I picked out when Liam walked in early, which felt like a deliberate attempt to catch me. Honestly, he didn't even stop to listen to the logical explanation I had prepared about his own failure to meet my needs. He started throwing things into a suitcase, screaming about betrayal and disrespect as if those words hadn't been rendered obsolete by his previous promise to always move forward. I sat there with the calm of a martyr, watching him dismantle our life over a technicality, feeling a profound sense of disappointment in his lack of character. I even pulled up a screenshot of the text he sent me 6 months ago, the one where he said, "I will never give up on you, no matter what happens." And I held it up like a mirror to his hypocrisy. He didn't even look at it. He just called me delusional and sick, projecting his own inability to maintain a commitment onto the person who is actually holding the relationship together. It is incredibly unfair that he thinks he can just opt out of the forgiveness clause now, especially when I was being so transparent about my actions this time around by not even locking the front door. He's acting as if I broke a rule when in reality, he is the one breaking the most important rule of all, the rule of consistency and keeping one's word. I am now sitting in an empty apartment, wondering how a man I gave so much to could be so fickle and judgmental over a situation he already agreed to handle with grace. Main story comments. Anonymous user 1 says, "Are you actually insane? You cheated with the same guy again and you think he's the one breaking a contract? Forgiveness isn't a subscription service for you to keep hooking up with other people." Up's reply, "It's called a precedent, honey. If you tell someone you forgive them no matter what, you don't get to add, unless you do it again later. That's just moving the goalposts because you can't handle a complex woman." Anonymous user 2 says, "He didn't catch you because he was being suspicious. He caught you because you're a narcissist who thinks she's untouchable. I hope he blocks you on everything." Ope's reply, "He's the one who failed the test of unconditional love. I was being my authentic self, and if he can't handle that after promising he would, then he's the one with the character flaw, not me." Update 1. 3 days have passed since Liam's dramatic exit, and I have spent most of that time trying to educate him on the concept of spiritual debt and the weight of a broken promise. I have been sending him daily emails since he was cowardly enough to block my number, detailing exactly how his abandonment is a direct violation of the emotional safety he guaranteed me 6 months ago. It's truly exhausting being the only adult in the room, having to explain that his feelings of being hurt do not override the verbal and written contract of his previous forgiveness. I even reached out to his mother, explaining that Liam is going through a moral crisis and that he needs her guidance to find his way back to the path of integrity and commitment. She had the audacity to tell me to stop contacting her, which just goes to show that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree when it comes to a lack of emotional depth. In an effort to show him what he's throwing away, I decided to host a small healing circle at the apartment, inviting a few of our mutual friends to witness my resilience during this trial. I made sure to post several photos of the event, highlighting the empty space on the sofa where Liam should be, fulfilling his duty as my partner and protector. I want the world to see that while he's off hiding in some cheap motel or his brother's basement, I am here, standing firm in the home I created, refusing to let his inconsistency break my spirit. One of our friends, Sarah, tried to suggest that maybe I should give him space, but I quickly corrected her, explaining that space is just another word for avoiding responsibility. I am the one who is suffering the most here, forced to live in a house full of memories of a man who turned out to be a liar. To make matters worse, Liam had his brother come by yesterday to pick up the rest of his essentials, which I find to be an incredibly aggressive move for someone who claims to be the victim. I refused to let him in, speaking through the door about the importance of face-to-face reconciliation and the cowardice of using a middleman to do your dirty work. I told him that until Liam is ready to sit down and discuss how he plans to atone for breaking his promise of infinite forgiveness, his belongings are staying right where they are as collateral. It's only fair he's taking away the emotional stability of our relationship, so why should he get to keep his favorite gaming chair and his overpriced espresso machine? I am simply applying a logical tax to his irrational behavior, yet I'm sure he'll find a way to make me look like the crazy one for demanding basic accountability. Update 1 comments. Anonymous user 1 says, "You are literally holding his stuff hostage because he won't let you cheat in peace? That is illegal and absolutely unhinged. You need professional help, not a healing circle." App's reply, "It's not hostage, it's a security deposit for the emotional trauma he's causing by being inconsistent. If he values his espresso machine more than his word, that says everything about him." Anonymous user 2 says, "The fact that you emailed his mom is the cherry on top of this toxic sundae. Leave that poor man alone. He finally woke up and realized you're a nightmare." OP's reply, "I was trying to help him. A mother should know when her son is failing to be a man of honor. I'm the only one actually fighting for this family while he runs away like a child." Update 2. 2 weeks have crawled by, and instead of Liam coming to his senses, he has decided to escalate his campaign of unfairness by involving actual lawyers to retrieve his property. I received a formal letter that was so cold and devoid of any mention of our 3-year history that I actually felt a pang of pity for how far Liam has fallen into his own bitterness. It's fascinating how people will use the legal system to avoid having a simple conversation about their own failures to uphold a moral vow. I spent the afternoon annotating the letter with my own notes about betrayal of the soul and breach of emotional contract before scanning it and sending it back to the law firm. I'm sure they'll find my perspective enlightening, as it's rare for people in those professions to encounter someone with such a clear grasp of higher-level ethics. Julian has been coming over more frequently to support me during this legal harassment, but even he is starting to show a disappointing lack of stamina for the cause. He actually suggested that I should just let Liam go so that we could be together without all this unnecessary drama, which I found incredibly selfish and short-sighted. I had to explain to him that this isn't just about us, it's about the principle of the thing, and I cannot move forward with him until I have successfully held Liam accountable for his hypocrisy. It's as if everyone around me is allergic to the idea of standing for something, preferring the easy path of moving on rather than the difficult work of demanding justice. I'm starting to feel like the only person on this entire planet who understands that words have to mean something, especially when they are spoken to a woman like me. The domino effect of Liam's selfishness hit a new low when I found out he has already started hanging out with a coworker of his, a girl named Maya who has always looked at me with a mix of envy and confusion. I saw a picture of them at a brewery, the very same brewery where Liam and I had our first anniversary, which is a level of emotional plagiarism that I find absolutely revolting. He is clearly trying to replace the depth and complexity of our bond with something shallow and easy. Someone who won't challenge him to be the man he promised he would be. I decided it was only right to send Maya a long, detailed message explaining the contract Liam is currently in breach of, so she knows exactly what kind of unreliable man she's dealing with. I'm doing her a favor, really, but I'm sure Liam will frame it as harassment because he can't face the truth of his own cowardice. Update 2 comments. Anonymous user 1 says, emotional plagiarism, you are reaching levels of delusion that shouldn't even be possible. He's at a brewery with someone who probably doesn't sleep with her. X. Ops reply, he is using my memories to build a fake life with a basic woman. It's a direct insult to the US he claimed was forever. If he had any original thoughts, he'd take her somewhere else. Anonymous user 2 says, you contacted the new girl too? You are literally a stalker at this point. No wonder Julian is getting tired of you. You're still obsessed with controlling your ex. Ops reply, I'm not obsessed. I'm a whistleblower. People deserve to know when they're dating a man who breaks his vows of forgiveness at the first sign of a challenge. I'm a saint for warning her. Update 3. A full month has passed, and I have reached the conclusion that Liam is officially a lost soul who has chosen the path of least resistance over the path of true, sacrificial love. He finally got a police escort to come and take his things while I was out at my weekly manifesting seminar, which is just the ultimate act of sneaky behavior. Coming into my sanctuary with the authorities while I'm not there to defend my emotional rights is exactly the kind of low-vibrational move I should have expected from him. He even took the espresso machine, despite the fact that I clearly explained it was being held as reparations for my ongoing distress. It's heartbreaking to see a man I once respected turn into a common thief who uses the state to settle personal debts. He doesn't have the courage to pay himself. The social fallout has been equally disgusting, as I've discovered that several of our mutual friends have blocked me after Liam told them his twisted version of the truth. I decided to take a stand on social media, posting a series of videos about the epidemic of male inconsistency, and how the inability to forgive a second time is actually a form of emotional abuse. I explained to my followers that I'm a martyr for the cause of radical transparency, and that Liam's refusal to honor his 6-month-old promise is a betrayal of all women who are too much for average men to handle. The response has been mixed, with a lot of trolls who clearly don't understand the nuance of a high-level relationship, but I know the universe is on my side. I am the one who stayed. I am the one who was honest eventually, and I am the one who is now being persecuted for it. The final straw came when I saw that Liam and Maya are now officially a couple on Facebook, as if a relationship built on the ashes of a broken vow could ever truly flourish. I couldn't help but leave a comment on their announcement, reminding them both that how you get them is how you lose them, even though I was the one who was technically with Julian. My logic is sound. Liam stole himself away from our commitment to forgiveness, so he is the one who cheated on the process we were supposed to be in together. Now, Julian has stopped answering my calls altogether, claiming that I am too stuck in the past, which is just another example of men being unable to handle a woman with a memory and a sense of justice. I'm alone in this apartment now, surrounded by the echoes of a man who promised me the world and then took back his gift because he couldn't handle the reality of the person he gave it to. Update 3 comments. Anonymous user 1 says, a police escort? Thank God he got out. You were literally holding his property because he wouldn't let you cheat on him again. You are the villain of this story. 100%. Ope's reply. The police are just another tool of the patriarchy used to silence women who demand accountability. He stole those items from a home I was trying to preserve. I am the victim here. Anonymous user 2 says, even Julian left you. That should be your wake-up call. When the guy you cheated with thinks you're too much, you've hit rock bottom, lady. Op's reply. Julian was just a catalyst for my growth, and he lacked the spiritual stamina to see the justice through. I don't need wake-up calls from people who live in the shallow end of the pool. Update 4. It has been 6 months since the great betrayal of Liam's departure, and I have finally found a sense of peace that only comes to those who know they are fundamentally superior to their circumstances. I see Liam around town occasionally with that Maya girl, and he looks different. Older, more tired, like someone who has settled for a life of quiet desperation because he was too afraid to do the hard work of truly forgiving a complex soul like mine. He avoids my gaze when our paths cross, which I interpret as a deep, soul-crushing shame that he probably carries with him every single day. He knows that he broke a sacred promise. He knows that he took the easy way out, and no amount of stable, boring happiness with a basic woman can ever erase the facts that he failed the one woman who truly challenged him. I have decided to turn my experiences into a digital course called The Forgiveness Contract, holding them to their word. Because I feel a calling to help other women navigate the treachery of inconsistent men. It's important that we start teaching people that forgiveness isn't a feeling you get to change your mind about. It's a permanent status that, once granted, gives the other person the freedom to be their authentic, messy self without the fear of abandonment. I am the living embodiment of this truth. A woman who is willing to risk everything to test the strength of a man's vow, only to find it was made of sand. I don't regret anything. Not even the time with Julian, because every action I took was a service to the truth of our relationship's foundation. If the foundation was too weak to hold my truth, then it was always destined to fall. And I'm simply the one who had the courage to give it a little push. I am currently looking for a new apartment, as this one is too haunted by the memory of Liam's lack of character, and I need a space that reflects my new, higher vibration. I've started seeing a new man, a life coach named Sebastian, who tells me that my intensity is my greatest gift and that he would never dream of judging my past because he lives in the eternal now. He understands that what Liam called infidelity was actually just me exploring the boundaries of my own light. And he has already promised me that he will always choose me, no matter what. I've already saved that message as a screenshot, just in case he ever needs a reminder of the standard I expect him to live up to. I am moving forward with my head held high, a martyr for the cause of unconditional devotion, leaving Liam behind in the dust of his own mediocre choices. He didn't lose a girlfriend. He lost the chance to be part of a masterpiece, and that is a punishment far greater than anything I could have ever planned.